Welcome to this ASQ webcast presentation on the role of Agile in continuous improvement. I'm Pablo Baez with ASQ, and today we have with us presenting on this topic, Sheila Shaffie. A little bit about Sheila before we get things started. Sheila's a process geek at heart with over 15 years of business transformation and process management experience. She honed her skills at 3 different General Electric businesses, including plastics, healthcare, and capital. As the co-founder of ProcessArc and the trusted partner of financial institutions around the world, she's helped her clients discover their potential for growth and improved client experience. A sample list of her clients include Thomson Reuters, Allied Capital, Exact Sciences, GMAC, and R.W. Baird. And Sheila holds an MBA from the University of Chicago and a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from the University of Waterloo. She is GE Six Sigma Green Belt, Black Belt, and Master Black Belt certified, and she's received additional training in GE's Technical Leadership and Management Development programs, as well as in the Change Acceleration Process, CAP, and the CAP facilitation. Today, Sheila will be sharing a wonderful presentation on Agile and continuous improvement and the powerful kind of methodologies that she's combining here, Lean Six Sigma and continuous improvement in Agile, to substantially improve your client's experience and your organization's bottom line. So with that, let me pass it over to Sheila to start the presentation.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you everyone again for joining us. As Pablo mentioned, today's discussion is going to be focused on Agile, because as many of you practitioners probably already know, it is a methodology that's gaining substantial amount of momentum in all sectors and all functions within the business. And while it truly is a powerful practice, it has faced some challenges. Today's presentations will explore some of Agile's key shortcomings, discuss how to overcome them, and ultimately ways to integrate this methodology within the Lean Six Sigma framework. But before getting into that, I wanted to have really a grounding discussion about our roles as members of the continuous improvement or transformation teams. Frankly, I really believe, after doing this practice for about 20 years, that we are supposed to enable innovation and transformation within our organizations. I say this because, frankly, based on our years of practice and your years of practice, training, and having been coached and having made mistakes and have become successful in implementing projects, we are supposed to be good at identifying business constraints. We have proven creativity in solving challenges, and through School of Hard Knocks have become effective at leading change. And so to deliver transformation and innovation, we are supposed to lead assessments, develop reimagined states, and push boundaries so that we can provide blueprints on what, how, and where technology has to be leveraged. I'm sure that a lot of you are already getting involved in emerging technologies like robotics, process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and frankly, because of these emerging technologies, it is our role really to ensure that the business is effectively using them to gain scalability and efficiency. Additional to the items that we just discussed, when you think about enabling innovation, innovation really comes about when you uncover the root cause of a challenge and when you can effectively translate what the customer wants into product and service requirements. In the end, as Lean Six Sigma practitioners, Agile practitioners, we are responsible and are champions in building critical thinking capabilities in the business at all levels. Now, I'm discussing all these points not because I want to glorify who we are or our roles or capabilities, but because we have seen Lean Six Sigma and continuous improvement teams sometimes get sidelined or marginalized by the new shiny practices like Google Sprint or Agile. And I just want to make sure that everyone that's listening to this remembers what we've been trained and coached to do over the years. Now let's go back to the original objective of the presentation, which was essentially discovering the weaknesses of Agile, how we can overcome and complement the strengths of Agile, and then integrate it into our continuous improvement practice and teams. So here's what's happening in the industry. Here's some of the major trends that are going on. As time goes on and the adoption of Agile increases, I think there's a stronger acknowledgement by the practitioners and business leaders that really Agile is not going to be the elixir of all of our business ails, and that we still need other problem-solving and critical thinking methodologies to enable innovation and allow the organizations to transform in a faster way. Another point is that Lean Six Sigma, frankly, are philosophically very close. They are still based on concepts like Kanban and rapid improvement. Google's design sprint, this was actually an interesting point in an article that was published recently, was discussing the fact that it's now beginning to edge forward and actually partially replace some of the Agile practices. So there's still yet another newer, shinier practice out there to grab the attention of the executives. And finally, organizations that have been trying to simplify or lighten Lean Six Sigma as a way to create shortcuts are really doing continuous improvement initiatives a disservice, because by going after just quick wins, and that's really all you can do when you lighten a Lean Six Sigma practice, you can really go after the low-hanging fruit. You're really creating nothing but a mirage that you're getting to the root cause of systematic business issues, and that only takes away resources and attention from business-critical issues. Essentially, when you do something like a light Lean Six Sigma, you're creating a culture of just looking busy, and hopefully anybody who's experiencing that is hopefully by the end of this presentation will begin to realize that they really need to walk away from that, because there's much bigger issues that we need to solve as practitioners and continuous improvement leaders. What are the challenges that we've been seeing so far? Well, as the adoption is increasing, the challenge is kind of bifurcated. There is the issue for the more mature cultures of continuous improvement, and then there's the issue with the ones that are newer to this thing. So for the ones that have a mature continuous improvement culture, the issue is one of how to integrate it within the Lean Six Sigma practice, and the relevance of a more structured methodology like Six Sigma is really being questioned, because frankly, if Agile is supposed to solve problems faster, why do we still need Lean Six Sigma? And for companies newer to continuous improvement and innovation and transformation, aside from the challenge of having to try their application and deployment playbook, the question that they're asking themselves is if Agile is really all they need to support growth and transformation needs. Before going into exactly what the strengths and weaknesses of Agile or how to integrate it, I just wanted to make sure that we created a level playing field for all the listeners, and so we'll do a really quick overview of Agile. And while it's new to a lot of companies, it's really not a new methodology, as you can see. It's been around since the 1950s, and probably the adoption became more robust in the early 2000s, and it has its roots in software development. It was really an attempt to move away from the waterfall development process, and its core focus was to create agility by introducing what's called quick sprints in the development cycle. So essentially, instead of building something to completion before releasing it and testing it in the market, the notion of Agile was to build faster and in increments, and testing as you're building to make sure that what you're actually developing is relevant and solving business issues, and it's going to be adopted by the customer. What seems to really make Agile unique, really, is that, and what makes it look like it's fundamentally different from Lean Six Sigma, comes from the fact that it's supposed to deliver improvements in a much more rapid way. And so essentially what it's saying is that we don't, unlike the Lean Six Sigma practice where it digs into the root cause and the problem, Agile is saying I don't really need to know everything about the problem that I'm trying to solve at the very beginning. I will do, because of the nature of my iterative methodology, I will do my discovery as it moves along. And there lies the risk and the weakness of the Agile methodology, or the opportunity for us as Lean Six Sigma practitioners to ultimately bolt on to the Agile practice. And I will explain this far more clearly in a few slides. So think of really Agile as a methodology of expediting the or the improve phase of a DMAIC project. And so philosophically, it has two weaknesses. At the start of the project or an initiative, it doesn't have a clear framework to make sure that we truly understand the business opportunity, and there's really nothing in place that allows us to understand the business opportunity. So think of it as a business case that we would develop that says, here's the problem, here's the business opportunity, here's the financial gains that we could have if we were to fix this issue. There's nothing in place that enforces we've done our due diligence to ensure that the problem statement is articulated in a very informative way, numerical. And the additional issue that kind of ties to the business opportunity comes from the fact that there's nothing in place in the Agile platform that's going to help you or give you a framework to make sure that you've gone out to the customer, you've collected their voice, and translated them into design or product requirements. It assumes and hopes that someone in the business has talked to the customer to collect the true and the absolute list of requirements needed for them, for the Agile team, to build whatever it is that we're asking them to build. So that's the front-end challenges. On the back end, once the development of a new product or service or app has been done, there are no operationalization tools. So we build it, but how do we operationalize, or how do we let operations take over what we've built to make sure that they have the required structure, process, training, KPIs to ensure that whatever it was that was built by the Agile team can now be supported and scaled effectively. Here's a graphical summary of exactly the challenges that we just talked about. Agile cannot and does not do a good job of developing a robust project or idea funnel. It doesn't make sure that the requirements are valid or that the root cause of the business problems is truly identified and vetted, nor does it tie or make sure that the business metrics and KPIs will actually move in the right direction if we were to solve the problem. And then when it comes to the Agile team, because we did a poor job up front, it's hard to determine or measure the value of the new product and service that was developed by them. It was done fast, but we have no idea what we got out of it. And of course, it ties to poor resource and funding utilization. And then at the end, even if we did a fabulous job of developing requirements and getting to the root cause and we developed something of value, there's a missing framework for actually scaling and putting the thing that we built into operations and into a scalable platform. And so there's that little guy at the very end of the graphic dropping the ball at the end after all the hard work and investment that's been done by the business. And this is actually based on a real example of a situation where an institution had spent millions of dollars building an application over a 6 to 8 month period time frame. And when they released it, the adoption rate was absolutely horrific. It was actually ultimately the project was abandoned. And it was because, to the points that we've discussed thus far, it was that they did a very poor job of defining exactly the business opportunity, the problem statement, and having talked to the customer to say exactly what is it that do we need to build for you in order to address your business challenges. So they leveraged Agile to build something, and they built it quite rapidly, but nobody adopted it because we did a very poor job at the beginning in identifying exactly the requirements of what was supposed to be built. So maybe by this point, you have reached the same conclusions that we did when we started to look at organizations that had adopted Agile. And simply put, frankly, from our perspective, Agile on its own can really be dangerous and suboptimal. And I know this can be controversial, but honestly, after examining multiple organizations and looking at the benefits that they got out of Agile, we've realized that this is really not supposed to be a framework that can operate on its own. And so that's why really we wholeheartedly believe that Lean Six Sigma needs to become the bookends to Agile. By bookends, I'm really referring to the two purple boxes that come at the start and at the end of the slide that you'll see here. Essentially, it's sandwiching the Agile and the Lean Six Sigma blue box. So technically, process engineers and black belts need to lead the assessments and the opportunity identification initiatives across the business units. They still need to be the ones that talk to the customer to collect and translate the voice into process, product, and service requirements. Black belts are supposed to ensure that we have clear business cases that state the problem and ensure that we have really identified the issue and the potential financial benefits by pursuing an opportunity. If we do this right, then the project funnel will be clean. Essentially, we know exactly what we need to pursue and what the ROI is going to be if we were to pursue an opportunity. If we get there, then the portfolio management team will have a better understand natural synergies between business opportunities, and then prioritization becomes easier. And finally, there is better delineation of whether a project needs to leverage Agile or the classic Lean Six Sigma methodology. Either way, by this point in time, the Lean Six Sigma or the continuous improvement team has done a really nice job of solidifying the list of requirements needed to design and has defined the success metrics to make sure that the Agile team has guiding posts of exactly what it is that they need to build and how they need to measure their success. And once the Agile team has been deployed to build whatever it is we need to build in a much faster way, walking away from the waterfall methodology, then there will be a clean handoff back to the Lean Six Sigma engineers or the process engineers to implement and operationalize the solution. And so there is a very nice handoff between here's what I think we need to build to the Agile team that will build it faster, and then hand it back off to the people who understood the problem and understood the process to be able to operationalize it, make sure that the right process design is in place, the training is in place, and the change management is in place for the adoption. So another way of summarizing this, everything that we just talked about, is the way that the methodology, the Agile methodology has a place in the DMAIC framework. The process engineers and the black belts need to essentially lead the define, measure, and analyze phase, then work with the Agile teams to rapidly develop the solution, assuming that the project is a good fit for Agile, and I will discuss what exactly we talk about. How do you determine if a project needs to go down an Agile development path or a Lean Six Sigma path, and then take over the control phase. And I will repeat this again. It's almost like beating a dead horse at this point in time. But again, the Agile teams work under the assumption that the business units that engage their services and skills have a good idea of what the problem is that they're trying to solve for and have a very clean list of requirements, or think of it as CTQs. They're not there to do the defining, measuring, and analyzing. That is really ultimately left to us as business leaders and Lean Six Sigma practitioners to make sure that we've done a good job of understanding what it is that we want the Agile team to build. So leave the I to the Agile team, and the rest of it still continues to be led by the classic Lean Six Sigma black belts and master black belts. Now, I have alluded to this idea of picking a path between Agile and Lean Six Sigma when it comes to the improve phase. And so going back to the top of the page, we still recommend that the continuous improvement teams continue to have a strong interface with the business units so that they can make sure they really understand the problem at hand and that they can ensure a very clean and robust feed into the project portfolio. But once the business case is approved and prioritized, you need to make a decision of which team to send the project to. Is it a black belt or an Agile team? And so there's a couple of basic rules of thumb to follow. You will send the project to the Agile team, again, once you've done the define, measure, and analyze, if you are building a new product or a service or a new capability. You will send it to Agile if the problem is complex and the solutions and outcomes are unknown. And so having this iterative nature will become incredibly valuable, especially if you can get the customer involved to give you feedback. This is particularly important if you're building something that's customer-facing like an application or a website. On the other hand, you will choose the Lean Six Sigma path if the issue that needs to be resolved is related to process design or implementation of an emerging technology like robotics process automation, AI, or machine learning, or when, if we were to make a mistake, it would be absolutely catastrophic. So anything related to removing business constraints, process flow, or implementation of an emerging technology, classically that would go down the path of Lean Six Sigma. Ultimately, anything else should go down the path of Agile. And you see a little loop underneath the yellow Agile and Lean Six Sigma sections, essentially reading or assuming that if the hypothesis is deemed not valid, if the problem statement was not really vetted properly, and that the Agile team, as they're building this thing that we've asked them to build, discovers that they're not really addressing a business need, the customer is not happy with it, the adoption is going to be poor, that essentially means that we did a very poor job of doing the define, measure, and analyze. And at that point in time, the Agile team needs to kick the project back to the Lean Six Sigma team to go back and vet out the problem. Really, at the end of it, this is a very simplified framework of how to engage the different teams and the different competencies, whether it's Lean or Lean Six Sigma, to address complex business issues. What we've summarized here, and again, nothing is ever etched in stone, are a list of tools to be used depending on where you sit in the Agile and the Lean Six Sigma world. But one of our clients just wanted to say, look, there's a million tools out there between Lean and Six Sigma and Lean Startup, and now you've got Google Sprint. Is there something that you could simplify for us so that essentially we have a better framework of when to use what to ensure robustness and adherence by all the practitioners? And so here's what we were able to put together for them. Of course, we're always open to suggestion as practitioners. If you think some tools work better than others, we're always open to suggestions and recommendations. But if you ever wanted to have something quick to go back to and say, well, I'm more on the Lean Six Sigma team, what are the things I need to make sure I have in place or that I'm deploying or using to ensure robustness so that my project is good, and then on the back end, make sure that the operationalization is going really well, look under what we've listed under the purple boxes, and if you're on the Agile side, the tools are also listed. So in summary, I frankly, even though at the very beginning when we've been engaged by clients to help them figure out how to solve the tension between Agile and Lean Six Sigma, frankly, we really do believe that it's possible to live in harmony. It doesn't have to be an us versus them culture, except unfortunately when something looks shinier, faster, newer, all the executives' attention go in that space, abandoning what has proven to be of value to them historically, which of course Lean Six Sigma is the tool that has been around forever. But like anything else, Agile has its shortcomings, and that gives all of us an opportunity to work better, because there's not a single platform that's robust enough to go from ideation to operationalization. So we have to use different frameworks and different tools to go through the entire life cycle of a project. And so all these tools can ultimately live under one ecosystem, and there is an incredible amount of interdependency and connectedness between all of them. Agile has roots in Lean. Google Sprint has roots in Agile. Six Sigma, has roots in other platforms that are practiced or that may not be practiced as often, but that there's a tremendous amount of connectedness between all these platforms. But the issue as practitioners for all of us comes to really one point, which is that we have to understand when and what platform to use, or as we pointed out, what is the platform that's going to dominate depending on the business challenge that we're trying to solve. And there's no golden rule here. Everything that we've presented today is based on our practice and application of these various methodologies. And again, we're always open to conversation and suggestions and recommendations, and hopefully this has shed some light into not just what Agile is, but how to integrate it into your existing playbook to make sure that we continue to deliver benefits for the organization at large. And with that, I will hand it back to Pablo and thank ASQ for giving us an opportunity to present a point of view on how we could all live together under one ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for taking the time to share this wonderful framework for better leveraging all these methodologies, Lean Six Sigma and Agile, how to optimize kind of organizational problem solving, continuous improvement. This is going to be critically important to our members, so I really appreciate it. For those of you that would like to learn more about Sheila Shaffie and contact her and ask her questions about this process, you can email her directly at sheila.shaffie@processarc.com or check out her website, which is www.processarc.com. And you can also find one of her most popular publications in the Quality Press bookstore, and that's the McGraw-Hill 36-hour course on Lean Six Sigma. And to learn about these topics, you can also search them through ASQ's Quality Resource Center, whether it's Lean Six Sigma, Continuous Improvement, Agile, etc. And that's at asq.org/quality-resources. Or take a look at ASQ's webcast presentations, the full list of them, and that's at asq.org/quality-resources/webcast. And with that, thanks again to everybody that joined us and to Sheila, and we hope to see you at our next webcast event.